The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, and that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
What's going on, y'all? This is Rich. Welcome to the July 17th edition of One Nation Radio, a special episode. We're going to be reviewing the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Shout out to everyone on Twitter. Make sure you guys are rating and reviewing the podcast network. We're an independent podcast network. We need your likes, your 5-star ratings, no 4s, no 3s. Don't be hating out here in these streets. We've got some, stuff to get to later this week, so there will be another show breaking down the entire Hulk Hogan situation, and I'll be joined by Simon Cotton of SportsKita.com, as well as James, who will be breaking his sabbatical to join me on that. But this right here is going to be the start of a new tradition. We're going to put the pay-per-views as their own show. Hope you guys dig it. So we're going to start right at the top, man. So overall thoughts on the show. This was not one of the more stellar events of the year. I was confirmed with a couple buddies of mine. Some folks really liked it for certain reasons, and most people didn't. This was right on the level of Backlash, maybe a little better, a little bit more entertaining on that front. But, watching this show, I kind of watched it as comedy personally, and I was a lot less offended watching it that way had I watched it as a serious wrestling show. The way that they essentially came out here and just booked all these fuck finishes, and they came out here and essentially have put 2 black holes on their card with their women's matches being, their champions are Carmella and Alexa Bliss. Their tag team divisions look like absolute jokes. They have Daniel Bryan out here fighting against these 2 monsters, and, Kane coming out here. He's already kind of immobile to begin with, and then he gets put in a walking boot. You've got the main event where, of course, we have the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 chance and all that. And, the outrage that came from that. Well, I'm not going to be outraged here about any of that. There's a lot of people that want to yell at the fans, but if you want someone to yell at the fans, you're listening to the wrong show. I believe, when the fans go see the arena and these things happen, they happen for a reason. If you give these, fans, they've been in the seats for that long. You come out there and you give them fuck finish after fuck finish after fuck finish, and then you put an Iron Man match out there last, and we'll just go ahead and get it started now. Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler headlined the show. No one knew that going in. For the Intercontinental Championship and an Iron Man match. Now, this was built up with a couple of weeks of TV matches, including a title change where Dolph Ziggler won the Intercontinental title for, I believe, the 6th or 7th time. Not sure, but it seems like that's kind of, his belt at the moment. And they, just built an Iron Man match off of that. So it was, not really a long build. Usually see an Iron Man match, whether it's like a Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels situation, or it's a deeply ingrained personal rivalry like Sasha versus Charlotte or something like that. This was not that. This was them booking a stipulation that they hoped, these guys would, tear the house down. And, see Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, they don't really need help with that. They don't need assistance. So when I saw, the match going, underneath the hijack or whatever like that, and everyone's called it so disrespectful and all this other shit, I didn't see it that way. I still thought the crowd was into the match when they needed to be. This was something where they were just having fun. And it was a situation where they came out there and told this crowd that this match is not serious. When you have these guys wrestling for 20 and 30 minutes on TV, and then you do 7 falls in like the first 10 minutes, all you're telling me is that this is not to be taken seriously. So basically what the crowd did was held the mirror up and showed WWE who they were. I wasn't pissed off about that at all. Did it distract from the match? Sure it did. But you know what else distracted from the match? All those disqualifications. All those, ridiculous finishes with McIntyre jumping in. He should have been disqualified more times than he was. The babyface blows a 3-0 lead. Like, if you guys listened to the show last week, I basically said that they should go 30, 0-0, and go into overtime. Now, they went into overtime, but they immediately have Drew McIntyre jumping in there and getting Seth Rollins the fuck out of there. I don't know. Someone should be fired. Who keeps laying out these pay-per-view matches? I don't know. Like, every time they try to get cute, something bad happens. Look at WrestleMania. So, they got cute by booking that match alone with Seth Rollins, with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Then the next big match that kind of got, shit on was Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe. Their bright idea was to have Samoa Joe use a chin lock for 7 minutes. No one wants to see that. Then they wanted to test fate, essentially, and get, Roman Reigns out there with Jinder Mahal, 2 of the poster boys for being, for what most fans see, and the people that are going to those shows, they give those guys hell because they don't like those guys. And all they came out here and did was poke the bear, essentially. After that, now we got Seth Rollins in the situation. So here's where it gets, like, real interesting, because we obviously know why these Roman Reigns matches are getting hijacked. They're laid out awfully, and they have, Roman in there in these situations where it's dead clear what they're trying to do. Then when Rollins, gets a match hijacked, and this is like the second one he kind of had like an outside deal entity or whatever. First, was the red belt at SummerSlam 2016. Everyone was so distracted. Then there was this. So I don't know, man. I blame it on the booking of the match. Now, you're going to get a ton of different opinions on that, but I'd like for you guys to let me know, when you're watching an Iron Man match, do you want to see a shit ton of falls like they tried to do or told you to do in the beginning of the match, where it's already like 3-0 or it's 3-3 and there's like 15 minutes left to go. It's like, what the hell's going on out here? And then all of a sudden these dudes can't lose and they're kicking out everything. It just is such a major disconnect, especially when we've seen Rollins going an hour without being pinned. I don't know. I couldn't think of booking an Iron Man match worse than that. Did I like the match? I thought it was okay. I don't think it got to that match of the year level. It was definitely not a contender. It shouldn't be in anyone's book. If they're doing that, they really like Seth Rollins or they really like Dolph Ziggler, and they're bending over backwards to justify that. So I don't know. It was just it was a case where I'm not sure if the Raw match went on last, but they definitely didn't lay it out to be received like the main event. Like, I don't know. When you see Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, you think you're about to get a work rate classic. And what they did was decided to put their booking imprints all over it. And as we have, come to see, their booking tends not to go over well. As long as Ronda Rousey's not involved right now, because they're knocking it out of the park with her. But we'll get to that later. Rollins and Ziggler, I gave that one 3.25. Some folks might have it a little higher, but that's just where I was on it. So AJ Styles and Rusev for the WWE Championship, the match before the main event. Now, they didn't have a ton of build going into it. It was very generic. They had Rusev. They couldn't decide whether they wanted him to do his babyface thing or just act like a regular heel. I thought he kind of leaned more in the heel direction. Aiden English was out there, doing things to help him cheat. I thought these guys had a really good match. For me, it was the best match of the show. They came out here and, I think Rusev showed that, he can be counted on in big situations to have, a good performance. I think he definitely is there at that level. He should be taken seriously sometime, and definitely like the only, real problem is like, where do you go from here with Rusev now that he, just got his shot at the king and essentially missed? So maybe he goes into something like, hey, man, I didn't need you to pull that turnbuckle off. So what happened? Maybe he does something with Aiden English there, but I thought Rusev had an excellent match. Styles just, showed that he's AJ Styles. I don't think this was a match of the year contender or anything. Styles hasn't really been lighting it on fire, but he's still been really good. So I think by the end of the year, he may work himself into that wrestler of the year conversation just off of his consistency and, being a guy to hold the WWE Championship. But we've really got to start asking what the fuck is going on with WWE not putting AJ Styles on last. I feel like right now they're bending over backwards to not give him the main events, like sports writers bent over backwards for a couple years not to give James Harden the NBA regular season MVP. If you weren't going to put Roman Reigns on last, which was the rumor going into this, and I would think, there's no Universal Championship match, so why isn't the WWE Championship in the main event? It makes it, very confusing for not only viewers, but longtime fans, like new viewers, but longtime fans as well. It's like, well, what's AJ not doing to be a main eventer? And then the only thing that you can really think is, oh, he's on SmackDown. So what they're doing is just turning it to the SmackDown belt, which is not even above the Intercontinental title. I think people really have to ask questions about that. Like, if this was your first time watching the pay-per-view, you would think the Intercontinental title is bigger than the WWE Championship. So it is troubling to see that that's happening to AJ. Looking at the year, the only thing he's main evented was Fastlane. He wasn't going to have a shot in hell at main eventing the, WrestleMania, the Greatest Royal Rumble. Wasn't on there for Backlash because they decided to end, all the matches with him and Nakamura with fuck finishes. The last match that they did was at Money in the Bank. They had to fall behind a gimmick. You get to this one, he still can't have the main event. So what is AJ Styles not doing to get the main event? They've made a lot of his feuds very vanilla. We have to see that. But AJ is not writing the feuds. So it's going to be interesting to see where he'll be at on the SummerSlam card. I would probably assume, second or third from the top. And he's going to have to out-wrestle his position while being, quote-unquote, the champion. Is getting more noticeable. So I would think everyone might want to pay attention to that from here going forward, because Styles is starting to add up the days now on his reign as champion. There was something during when he made his entrance. They mentioned he's the longest reigning WWE champion in 5 years, with that belt. Now, the last guy that held that belt was CM Punk, strangely enough. A dude that wasn't being in the main event, that was playing second fiddle behind, whatever big star there was. There was John Cena at that time. Right now, he's playing second fiddle to whatever's on Raw. It's not even just Roman Reigns. It's not even just Brock Lesnar. It's fucking Rollins in the Intercontinental title. So, if I was AJ Styles, I would feel really disrespected, but, I guess that's what the check's for. So, but AJ Styles and Rusev, I ended up going 3 3/4 on that, and thought that was like, a good professional wrestling match, I'd say. So, not 4-star level, not match of the year level, but definitely like, a match you might be able to throw on and be like, all right, I want to pass the time. I remember Rusev got a shot at the title once. What was that like? And it, you wouldn't be disappointed if you went back and we got the Raw Women's Championship between Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax, and I'm going to say it. You guys know what I'm going to say. Alexa Bliss is not good. This match is another shining example of not only her mediocrity, but her tendency to be in these matches designed to protect her from, being able to put together anything she's not here for her wrestling ability. the whole match was full of smoke and mirrors. I wouldn't watch it again. Ronda Rousey got involved. It got really exciting when she was in there because you knew she was going to get involved somehow, but they cut her off and made her look like a geek, beating her down with the kendo sticks and everything like that. Alexa Bliss's chair shots look weaker than My Little Sister's. Of course, they had her win with the DDT on a chair. The, Raw Women's title continues to be a black hole, along with the SmackDown Women's title, which we'll get into in a minute. But I think the women's divisions haven't been in this bad a shape since before AJ Lee won the championship for the first time. So this is crazy. Like, we're fully back in the Divas era. You can only hope that Ronda Rousey is not destroyed by the tidal wave that is Alexa Bliss and her soul-sucking mediocrity. She basically has run roughshod and dominated this championship, and I can't figure out a reason why someone would be that dominant on a non-drawing entity like the women's championship. This is a thing that you can spread around, that you can, produce great matches with and really add to the card. What they've done since they've combined these shows and added these women's matches with Alexa Bliss defending the championship, Carmella defending the championship. All you've done is turn Nia Jax into a dummy. You definitely turned Asuka into a dummy that has to not only lower her performance level, but she has to look stupid in the process to, essentially come out here and get screwed by these heels. So, looking at it, Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax, we already knew what it was. Alexa was going over, not a surprise. Nia, you kind of look at her now like, damn, they put the belt on you for like a month. You over-delivered with the Rousey stuff, and, your chance, you're out of here now. So, interested to see what happens to her next. Obviously, we got Bliss and Rousey on deck for SummerSlam. And I'm just going to hope that Ronda Rousey can carry this person to a good match, which sounds crazy because this will be like Ronda Rousey's third match ever. Then we got our shock of the evening. Bobby Lashley defeated Roman Reigns. Now, this was a decent heavyweight match. Looks like I forgot to give you guys my star rating for Alexa Bliss and Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. I gave that a 1.5 star effort between Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. But after that, Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley went out there. Bobby Lashley got the clean win, 1-2-3. Didn't expect that. I thought Roman would go ahead and get Bobby out of there. But what they did was, essentially gave Lashley the first one. And then if you guys saw Monday Night Raw last night, these guys are going to have a rematch next week to determine who's going to fight Lesnar. And I'm pretty sure that they'll go and give Roman that win back, and then, Bobby will be, either shipped off, or maybe they'll do a 3-way or something like that. I liked the match. I thought it was a good heavyweight match. 3 stars, nothing like terrible that will insult your intelligence. I thought these guys did a good job of overcoming what, was attempted to be a hijack. If it had gone on last, I have no doubt it was getting hijacked, especially how the folks reacted with the clock stuff. But, I don't think this match was anything special, to write home about. This pretty much showed that Bobby Lashley can have a competent match. Roman Reigns normally delivers on pay-per-view when he's not, restricted, by terrible match layouts or gimmicks that he has to get over. Like, he doesn't have to lay in a submission move, and he doesn't have someone in there abominable like Jinder Mahal, who was completely not on the show this time. But Lashley showed enough that he's competent, and it seems like people are actually kind of digging the guy, so maybe you can credit Roman Reigns for that, depending on how you look at it, or if this is an anyone but Roman situation, that could be the same thing as well. So next week, these guys will be facing off, and the winner gets Brock Lesnar. They were in triple threat matches last night on Monday Night Raw. Lashley was in there with Elias and Seth Rollins, and Roman was in there with Drew McIntyre and Finn Balor. Interesting choices. Rollins, has been hot all year and gets pretty much, pushed to the side, and we've got this whole Lashley and Reigns thing. I don't know. Not the most exciting thing in the world. Seems like it's going to lead back to Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, which is a tired program. They have Brock Lesnar getting paid all this money to essentially get go-away heat and come out here and, what they've done since WrestleMania is what I've been saying on this show is they've ruined Brock Lesnar's character. And they've ruined the audience's connection to him that everyone always liked Brock Lesnar when he showed up. It was really telling to watch Monday Night Raw and hear, Kurt Angle say, hey, I'm just going to strip this dude. No match needed. And everyone was like, yes, because people really believe this for whatever reason. Like, they really believe Brock Lesnar does not want to show up. So, aside from the part where we're just sick of Brock Lesnar and, what they've done with him, and it's just like, yo, leave so they can stop this tired-ass storytelling trope. Some people just be like, really believe that Brock Lesnar is not showing up. And so this is a credit to Vince McMahon that he's able to hoodwink these idiots. But what is happening is they're ruining Brock Lesnar in the process, not only to those folks, but the folks like, that watch this channel, the folks that listen to this podcast, where we're just tired of it. Get the belt off of them and no matches necessary. Have a tournament. Who gives a fuck? Put it on Hawkins. No one would bat an eye if they did that at this point. So not only have they made the Universal title just a complete non-entity, they've turned Brock Lesnar in, from a guy that generated excitement every time he came around to a guy who generates apathy and groans. And, the way that he's been performing is just, it's not exciting, it's done, it's stale, it's tired. And people are ready for that shit to end. So, for everyone's sake, I think we should hope that Brock Lesnar drops the title come SummerSlam, almost no matter to who it is. And we have Braun Strowman waiting with that briefcase. It's going to make an interesting dynamic because I think it's going to be WrestleMania 34 Part 2. If Roman Reigns is put in that spot, no one's going to cheer when Roman Reigns if Roman Reigns defeats Brock Lesnar for the belt. They're all going to be like, where the fuck is Strowman? Come get this belt from this other dude we don't like. So, it'll be a heel versus heel program at the end of the day. But moving on. Then, of course, we had the Bludgeon Brothers against Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane. It was shown early in the night that the Bludgeon Brothers couldn't wait to get their hands on, the Nostalgia Act as they went ahead and whooped Daniel Bryan's ass and whooped Kane's ass in the back, and they brought out the hammer like Gallagher. And they beat on Kane's ankle. It was said that Kane had an ankle injury, and this was, designed to kind of cover for that. It ain't like Kane was, the fleetest of foot motherfucker anyway, but this put Daniel Bryan in a situation where he has to fight these two monsters that have sucked the soul out of every arena that they've been in. It's nothing against these guys as a tag team because we know they can go. This gimmick is just completely run its course. They're way too dominant, and it feels like no one has a chance against them. And folks just really can't get into their matches based on that. So what happens is, even though Kane has the injury, even though he shows up later in the match, they pin Daniel Bryan. I couldn't even be upset anymore because, that would be me being upset would require me to care at this point. And as I mentioned, I watched this show as comedy, just looking like, how can someone book a wrestling company like this? But then you have to, remind yourself that this is not a wrestling company. This is a TV company. So, Daniel Bryan just, in a situation, just another guy. Hopefully they come up with a better direction for him towards SummerSlam. Maybe they run into the Miz match. I'd like that. No reason to hold it off until WrestleMania. I still think you need to do Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 35 if Bryan decides to stay with the WWE. Nothing really to write home here about. And that is sad. 2.5 stars. Now, the show emanated from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, 20 years ago, The Undertaker faced Mankind in the Hell in a Cell. Created a moment that, essentially transcended into pop culture with Jim Ross calling, oh my God, he's dead, and, whatever the hell he said. Basically, Kevin Owens came out here and was like, all right, we're going to go ahead and recreate that. So, after, a hubris-filled cage match with a bunch of nothing going on, Kevin Owens decided to come out here and really die for it. I hope Kevin Owens got an extra zero on his paycheck. I hope Kevin Owens was handsomely rewarded. I hope that everyone gave that man a standing ovation when he walked through. I hope that Kevin Owens is rewarded for this in the future, because this man fell from like 15 to 17 feet up there, not on the ground, but through a table first. And yes, I know there was an airbag under there, but you still have to take that bump from that distance, from that velocity. And it's a real bad week for folks that want to, say how dangerous, New Japan is. And I think James brought this up on Twitter. This is a real bad week for y'all, and knowing that shit was about to happen. As far, if you want to talk about real danger, what if he lands wrong? Like, what if his head, goes, this is something that he planned to do. This wasn't something that was like a mess up that could happen on any fucking move that is ever done in the ring, like a body slam, like a back bump, or anything like that. What we got was, a match built around like, yo, yeah, are the cameras in position? Okay, I'm up here. I'm going to be thrown sideways through this table. That's dangerous. Now, it's good that Kevin Owens is okay. It was a cool bump. I thought it was crazy in the moment, and I'm not really about to sit in here and bang on WWE and say, hey, WWE is dangerous now. But if you are out here doing the opposite, it is a bad day for you, because that just weakens your argument in my eyes. But Kevin Owens gets the victory. I guess. So I don't know if he looked like a winner or anything like that. Everyone was cheering for Strowman, and Jonathan Coachman on commentary in this match just showed why these guys should pretty much be banned from calling the sport. They on commentary, they repeatedly stated that there was nowhere to run in the steel cage. Now, Kevin Owens had been running from Braun Strowman throughout the whole lead up. Then the second he gets in the cage, this is an escape only match. Like, either you can pin or you can escape. That is literally how you win. So how Jonathan Coachman can continue to say these things baffles me. Also, another thing on the Ziggler match, to flash back a little earlier, Dolph Ziggler, it was 4-4 by this time. This fool, and I'm sure this was not Dolph Ziggler doing this. This was laid out by an agent to try to escape with the Intercontinental title while it was 4-4. The rules of an Iron Man match would have left him down 5-4 at that point, which would have made him lose the fucking belt. Who is laying out these matches? Who is approving this shit? I don't know. As far as a star rating for Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman, what did I have written down here? I think I gave that one 3 stars just based on that bump alone. So if Kevin Owens is going to go out there and have essentially a nothing match with a big-ass bump like that, I'll go ahead and let him have those 3 stars for that. So I'm just going to keep it rolling here. Jeff Hardy squashed by Shinsuke Nakamura. We got Randy Orton's return. This dude comes out and kicks Jeff Hardy in the dick. Nakamura and Orton stare at each other like they're going to get something going. Orton kind of turns heel in the process. We don't know, of course, how they want to book him. But Orton versus Nakamura feud could be horrible for all types of reasons. Why? This is a battle to see who cares, or who's going to care first. And if it, is anything, we know that Nakamura will mail it in. We know that Orton will mail it in. What are they going to do? I don't know who's going to mail it in first. So, of course, we had Carmella and Asuka. My God. Now, as bad as Alexa Bliss is, right? And I've been giving Alexa Bliss hell for like a year. She's not Carmella. Carmella's even worse. Now, I don't even know if Carmella landed an offensive move in this match. They made the whole thing about Asuka wanting to get to James Ellsworth so bad she left herself open to be pushed into the shark cage, which I wonder why it was down to that height anyway. Seeing as how James Ellsworth fell out of it, I don't remember why it was lowered or anything like that. But all of a sudden, it was there, and her face was bouncing off the front of it, and she was looking like an absolute geek in the process. They have killed Asuka forever right now. they have taken this woman who was so dominant in NXT. People wanted her to be the NXT champion, period. Not the women's champion. People wanted her to wrestle dudes. She was so dominant. Now, they give her the Royal Rumble win. They let her have all these Raw-ass matches leading up to WrestleMania. Pretty much the whole month of February, it was the Asuka Open Challenge. Sasha Banks got it. Bayley got it. Mickie James got it, I believe. Natalya? I'm not sure. I think Natalya got it, if I'm not mistaken. And what happened was she got to WrestleMania, and they beat her. And then everyone was like, oh, well, this will give them a chance to actually tell stories with her. Look, man, it's real easy with Asuka. Let her kill people. We don't need it much more complex than that. Why? She's not really here to do all the talking. She's not really here to do all the acting and the phony bullshit. What has happened to Asuka, I feel like, is an absolute tragedy and a failure of Vince McMahon to capitalize on what was one of NXT's hottest properties. And one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And it really sucks. And you're feeding her to Carmella. I don't know why. I don't understand. Someone will have to, explain it to me. But she won the Royal Rumble. I guess she should be happy about that. So, I think her career is like irreparably damaged. People really can't take her seriously anymore. And they've had her whooping on James Ellsworth like that was still a win. No, it wasn't. She's been going for the championship and losing and looking like a geek so much in the process. Like, it's eerily like scary the way her and Nakamura were booked from their Royal Rumble wins to their subsequent championship losses. As, the only thing that didn't happen was Asuka didn't turn heel in the process, which this has kind of left her in no woman's land. She has to leave the championship picture at this point, unless, they want to get another TV match out of it where she wins the title. I don't know. There's only a month till SummerSlam. You might have to start building up, other stuff. So it sucks to see what has happened to Asuka, and Carmella is just absolute drizzling shits. I think I gave this match -2 stars. And I never thought I would say that about an Asuka match, but Carmella is just dreadful on every level. Like it comes to wrestling, putting together matches, being exciting, anything, nothing. Like, she can cut promos, she has a good look. This is the Divas division. This is a black hole on every card that she's going to be, involved in. Maybe this is a situation where Becky Lynch eventually gets a shot at her. One can only hope. Here at the end of the review, we have the last two matches. We have Finn Balor, who came out in some Raw-ass gear, beating Baron Corbin with a small package, I believe. And I think I gave that one 2.5 stars. And we had the B team wrestling for the World Tag Team Championships against Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. And the B team went over. After being jobbers for 10 years, when they won the belts, I was like, who really could give a fuck? Like, good for those guys. If it mattered, someone may care, but it literally doesn't matter. Who could really get upset over this? They've murdered their own tag team division to where it's a joke. As I said, if you watch this thing with comedy in mind, it probably won't offend you as much. But if you watch this as a serious wrestling show right now, I don't know what type of drugs you're on. Like, you cannot watch this as a serious thing anymore. I've come to that conclusion. And nothing exemplifies that more than the B team being champions of the world in tag team wrestling. So, Baron Corbin and Finn Balor, Baron Corbin sucks. That's just pretty much what it comes to. And Finn Balor, they don't have any idea what to do with him. They put him in that match just to take the pin in the three-way so they didn't have to pin McIntyre. And who knows where he'll be on the SummerSlam card. If he was left off completely, I wouldn't be shocked to see him on my left off the card list, which, you guys can relive on my previews of each show. But yeah, man, this show was Brian Alvarez described it as a WCW show with all the fuck finishes, with just the way how long the show felt, with everything that just was designed to piss you off and frustrate you. Like I said, I didn't watch the show with the mindset that this was going to be great. I saw it and I was like, I don't know, man. And then when it was on, I just kind of watched it and stared at it and was like, and this is fresh off the news of Hulk Hogan coming back, which I will be talking about in full. If you guys have not read my column on lordsofpain.net, check that out. You can see my thoughts. But yeah, that show with James and Simon will be coming soon. This was fresh off that Hulk Hogan stuff, so I wasn't in the greatest mood watching this show. But then I watched the show, and it was comedic. Just the way like that I would never run a wrestling company, it made me laugh with some of the booking. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing. Does that make it a good wrestling show? No, it does not. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you on camera or bend over backwards and tell you, yeah, I really think this was one of the best shows of the year, because it's not. This is not great at all. But I watch this. I do this for you guys, and I do it because I enjoy talking about professional wrestling. The Extreme Rules show, get it the fuck out of here, B. Straight up. Royal Rumble was better. Fastlane was better. WrestleMania was better, even though, I've made my thoughts about WrestleMania this year well known. The Greatest Royal Rumble, I would say, is better. Backlash was not better. I'll say that. And Money in the Bank was a little bit better than this. So, you're looking at between Backlash and this one is some of the worst shows of the year. But that's going to wrap up this review. Make sure, if you guys are watching this on youtube.com, that you hit the subscribe button for more videos and everything like that. And if you guys are listening to this on Social Suplex Network, make sure you guys, rate us 5 stars, everything. Check out all the other shows on the network. Of course, One Nation Radio, hosted by myself. Keepin It Strong Style with Josh and Jeremy. I'm tripping. Keepin It Strong Style with Josh and Jeremy. Grown Men Watch This Shit with Chris Bryan and Jeremy Tate. And also Rance and Carl hosting The Outsider's Edge. So, and also the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Before I forget, what am I doing? Shouts out to Ricky and Clive. It's hard to remember all this stuff just looking at the camera. So, anyway, that's going to wrap it up. And I will be back with that Hogan episode you'll see later in the feed. And you don't want to miss it. We about to let it loose, and I'm about to get off on all these people that have been in the comment section acting like fools. So do not miss that. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you for listening to One Nation Radio. We'll see you next time.